So it's not impossible. Now there's other things, obviously, than just money, but yes, that's what I like to do. All right, so love what you do and do it with passion. Set your goals. I mean, you got to set goals. If you don't have goals, no matter what you're doing, set your goals, even if they're stupid. Okay? Set your realistic goals and set your dream goals. You've got to set it. If you don't think big, you know, Tony Robbins always says, and I'm sure I'm not quoting it right, if you're good, to get good results, you have to be great, right? Because it takes energy. You can't be good and get good results. You can do good, you're going to just get fair results. So you always got to extend more energy. So if you want to be fantastic, you got to be extraordinary, right? So you just got to keep going and keep going. Get a coach. Get a coach. And get a coach who's going to kick you in the ass. Not a coach who says, I know what's mean. You know, not a coach who drinks coffee. Not a coach who smokes. Not a coach who gets up at 9 o'clock. Get a coach that's going to put you where you want to be. You know, I've been kind of sassy ever since I was really young. I didn't realize this till I got older. But when I worked for the Allstate Insurance right out of college, I had insurance and I had an HMO, and I had to go to this doctor after going to my family doctor for years. And the doctor walked in, didn't even say hello to me. And he just walks in, yamming at me. I said, stop. He goes, what? I said, well, first of all, you walk in the room, you don't even introduce yourself. I don't know who you are. And before we get started, I have some questions for you. And he went, what? I was 22 years old, 23. And I go, first of all, do you smoke? No, why? I'm not going to tell a doctor, I'm not going to let a doctor give me advice who smokes. I don't smoke. I had asthma when I was a kid. Do you drink? Huh? He goes, a little. I said, I got to know these things because I'm not going to take advice from somebody who I don't respect. I didn't know that I was headed towards where I am today. That's just the way I was back then because we should. I had a friend that went to a doctor one time. I said, what do you tell you? I don't know. You know, what do you mean? This is your body. Do you know people take better care of their cars than they do their bodies? You know, I got these guys that work for me that smoke. And they laugh at me because I put the cheapest gas in my car. And I go, they put the most expensive, but yet they don't take care of their bodies. It doesn't make sense to me. We have these anomalies all the time where it just doesn't make sense. Why? You can get another car. You can't get another body, right? Take care of your body. It's a temple. Get a coach. Believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is, right? So I try to share those things because that's a lot of my background. I think I've got a couple of examples here. If you guys want more examples, or if you'd like, I can open it up to questions, whatever you want to do. But, oh, this one is a good one. How do you make money, right? Well, you buy low, sell high. Is that a big concept for people to understand? Buy cheap, sell high, right? That's how you make money. I think I realized I was an entrepreneur when I was 13 years old. My buddy and I, my best friend and I, had paper routes right next to each other. Remember papers? Anybody read a newspaper? They remember them. It was delivered by guys like me when I was 13 years old on my bike. And so we were making money when I was 13 years old. I made $30 a month. Cash. That's a lot of money back in those days, right? So $30 a month. So me and my buddy, our junior high school was right within our neighborhood. So in the morning, we would take our money and we would go to the liquor store and we would buy all this crap. Gum and donuts and all this other stuff. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but nutrition was something they used to offer. And they used to load us up with sugar. It was like crack cocaine for kids, right? I mean, they used to give us donuts and ice cream at 10 o'clock in the morning. Remember that? I don't know if you did. That's what I went to public school, so they gave us that stuff. So me and my buddy, we would go to the liquor store and buy as much as we could possibly carry, and we would buy it for 25 cents, 30 cents, 15 cents, and we would sell it for twice as much at school. I didn't know I was a businessman. We would take our money, and then we would hit the ice cream truck at the end of the day, and we would buy Cokes and everything we wanted because we were rich and all the other kids were poor. Then we'd take part of that profit and do it all over the next day. Anyway, that's how my story started. And, so anyway, average investment is $25,000 or less. It's easier on your pocketbook. There's a lot of opportunity. Our average return is 12%. It's better than most other investments. You get a great profit. And It's secured. That's one of the key things here, is the collateral is secured. And of course, you want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. I'm not the only one in the country that does this. And we do specialize in seconds, and the reason we like seconds is because they're a little bit less expensive. We buy with a current on the first, with equity position, so we've got leverage over the homeowner. Now, the reason you don't want to buy a first is because it's like being a parent in a house. You got to pay the taxes, you got to take care of the property, you got to pay the insurance, and you got to take care of the repairs. When you buy the second, we make sure that's already being done. So we're like a teenager in the house. We get all the advantages without all the responsibility. But we know how to make sure that if that happens, how to take over it. How to take it over. This is not important. I go over this stuff about the difference if you own the property to exit strategies to when you own the note. So we try to create the blueprint for success. What I do is I wanted to create the Home Depot for notes. So we have all the tools from A to Z. Whether or not you're just buying notes from us, from like direct from the source, or whether you want us to analyze it, market for you, collect, do the servicing, resolution, and all the extra strategies that are involved.
So you say if we bought the first, we'd have to do the taxes and insurance, and I wasn't quite sure what you meant by that.
Yes, when you buy the first, you're going to say, let's say you buy a first for 20 grand, you're still going to be responsible now because you are the homeowner basically, right? Because if the homeowner defaults on anything, you have to protect your investment. And that investment is protected by paying the taxes, the insurance, the HOA, and maintaining the property. So now I've got to pay, maintenance on it, or rehab, or preservation. Just board it up sometimes. About 60% of the time, you're going to take ownership on a first through foreclosure. So there's additional cost. When you buy a second, we make sure they're already current on the first. They're paying their taxes. They're current. So we've got emotional leverage, not only financial leverage, we've got emotional leverage over them. That's what we teach you, and we show you the difference.
But normally they would be paying the taxes and insurance. You're just responsible if they don't, if you have
Right.
a first.
But most of the first we buy, if they're defaulted on the first, they defaulted on everything else.
Gotcha.
See, on the seconds, they're paying everything else because the banks haven't collected on seconds very hard, and so they think they just went away. And so bank will call them and say, we charged you off. A charge-off doesn't mean we went away. It just means we no longer collect on you. Wells Fargo's not collecting anymore. Chase isn't collecting anymore, but that doesn't mean, does anybody know PNC got started? You know PNC Bank? Anybody know PNC? PNC's a bank. They're not here in California yet. They started as a collection company. They bought National City Notes. They bought some of World Savings stuff. They bought another one too. That's how they got started. Now they're a bank. They're a bank, and they started as a collection company buying defaulted notes. And they're all over the Southeast. I mean, just huge. Okay? So how does it work? We buy non-performing notes. We buy them with little or no equity. 80% of the banks sell notes. We buy so cheap, and we create equity or cash flow for you. And we help the economy. And I like to say that if you don't get this, just kind of analogy, you heard the expression, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Well, the one that owns the note controls the deal. Because if you've ever owned property and you've used a lender or somebody else, who gets paid first when you close the deal?
Bank.
Everybody else but you.
Yeah.
Not even the lender. Everybody gets paid first. You get paid last. You are a property manager each and every time. When you live in one of my properties or you invest, you're the borrower, you're a property manager. You're maintaining the property for me. If you fail at your job, you get very little profit, right? If you succeed, you get more profit. If you fail, I fire you and I hire somebody else to do it by foreclosing and evicting and starting it all over again. Okay? So it's kind of fun in a sense. Cash out. There's settlements, modifications, deed in lieu of, resale, foreclosure, and sell the property. Now, I told you before, bankruptcy and foreclosure are dirty words when you're on this side of the fence. When you're the note holder, it's music to our ears. You know why? Because bankruptcy and foreclosure puts you on a conveyor belt to the finish line. So now we have deadlines, time frames. I know when I'm going to get paid. So now I just sit back and wait for it to happen. And you know how much bankruptcy costs us being the lender? Nothing. We turn in one form most of the time. Unless we do a motion to relieve, it might cost us $200. And we don't even have to wait for that. Most of the time, we just wait for it to fall out. And does bankruptcy save people's homes? They think it saves their house. That's the biggest misnomer of all time. All it does is buy them a little bit of time. And now it puts them on a conveyor belt to the finish line. They have no idea they just screwed themselves. It's the most amazing thing I ever learned about this. Foreclosure is just a natural way of the process to work. Takes a little longer from state to state, but now the timeframes are going down. Florida just passed a law earlier this year that it has to be done within 12 months or less. It used to take 1.5 to 2 years. You're going to start seeing that in New York. There was another state that did it. I can't remember which one, but they all are starting to work to their advantage. The courts are overcrowded. They have limited employees. They're sick and tired. The market's getting better. And so they're all saying, get it done. Get it done. And they can't really shake us. So now it's just a matter of how much they're going to pay us and get started. So here's an example of one we just did. This is anybody, Paradise, California. Anybody heard of that?
Yeah.
Up north, thank you. We bought this note, second position. We paid $19,000 for it. It cost us $10,000 to pay the agent and foreclosure costs. Okay, so we paid the buyer's agent their percentage. I have a real estate division in California. I get to list the property under my real estate division. So I didn't pay myself a commission or whatever. So we paid the other side $5 or whatever it was, and our 6 or 3 or so. Oh, and then I got 3 too from my real estate division. So we got 6%, $4,000 for foreclosure approximately, and we sold the property for $119,000. We found out that the first was only $36,000. These people have been paying on this house for 15 years. They should not have let us foreclose. They should have listed and sold it. We would have been fine with it. We're not aggressive in that capacity, but they didn't know what they were doing. So they let it go all the way. And we sold it for $119,000, paid off the first of $36,000. We made a profit of $54,000 and got our $19,000 back. So $73,000. Here's the check. It was actually a little bit more than that, guys. It was $82,000. We just closed that one last month, or whatever date that was. 4/2, I think it was $82,000. You saw our investment. $19,000. $29,000 was our cost to it, right? Would you do this deal?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Never saw the house. Never saw the house. Had no idea, never wanted to. I have a preservation company that goes up there, change the locks for me. They clean the house if I need it. They rehab it if I need it, whatever it happens to be. In this case, they were very clean. It was very nice. I think we could have sold the house for $125,000.
Out of those 40 properties you've got, if you own or finance one, would you do it with a land contract, or how would you do that?
I don't use land contracts.
Because?
Well, we have a business, so we don't get taxed anyway, so we're not trying to hide anything.
Okay.
There's really never been a purpose for it for us, per se. It's more when you do it on an individual basis, I believe.
Okay.
For us, and
So
I was always just a little scared of land contracts
Yeah.
because of some of the things I learned, and I just can't do everything.
Right, and you're in the mode of, I guess, foreclosing normally anyway, as
Right.
opposed to a land contract where you
Yeah.
might evict, like a lease purchase.
Right,
I see what you're
exactly.
saying. Okay.
So, pretty cool deal, right? I mean, and we didn't know the first was so low when we started it. We knew there was a first, but we didn't know how low it was, $36,000. My gosh, those people could have walked away with some of that. Now, they owed us, I think, 60 on the note, on the second, and we ended up making 82. So not only did we get our note, we got the equity of the property because they allowed us to foreclose. They shouldn't have done that. Here's one I told you about. This is one of my first notes I did a long time ago. The fair market value, this is in Baltimore, Maryland. This is one of the very first notes I bought. I bought a second. The first is $100K, and we bought the second, which had accumulated to $97,000 with late fees accelerated. I bought it for $13,000. And the borrower was 36 months late at the time. And then she got a new job as a pharmaceutical rep, making $248,000 a year.
Jeez.
And her husband made $30,000. $280,000. So we called her up and said, how come you're not paying us? Nobody ever called me. Okay. Now that wasn't us, that was the previous bank. They just don't call. They don't have the manpower to do it. They don't know how to make apple juice, right? So they didn't call it. And so all of a sudden, we did a workout at 3%, $330 a month. Not bad, huh? For a $13,000 investment. 30% return on your money. Now, let's go back. The key to this, which I didn't tell you, we got an $8,000 deposit to forbear some of the rears. So we reduced it from $97,000 down to $70,000 for $8,000. Okay, so now she's been paying me for 5 years, $330 a month. That comes to like $18,000, right? $17,000. So I got 8 plus 17. I've already made $25,000 on this note. and she still owes me about $67,000. And I've got 100% equity in the note. Now, what's gonna happen if she keeps making that kind of money? She's gonna move because her kids will get beat up. You know, you don't make $300,000 a year living in a $200,000 house. It just doesn't happen. You gotta move, otherwise the kids in the neighborhood are gonna beat you up. I know that dynamic, right? It's like kind. And so eventually, because they're gonna be wearing the nicest tennis shoes, driving the nicest cars, and they're gonna do it. But I don't care, even if she doesn't. Maybe she refinances and gets me out of the picture. Let's say I get a check for 50 grand, 60 grand, and I've already made 25. I get 75,000 in 5 or 6 years. That's why I like notes. It's just another example. We'll skip through some of them. They're all the same, just different amounts. This one here is kind of neat. It can relate to this one. This one, this was our first big, probably our first big grand slam. This is in Pasadena, California. Anybody know where that is? Where the Rose Bowl is, all that kind of stuff. So we bought a second on it. And this wasn't for me. This was one of my investors and a good friend of mine, actually. So she bought this, and the second was $102,000 is what it accumulated to. We bought it for $16,000. Now, keep in mind, when we bought them, they might have only been $70,000 or something like that, right? Because, and we buy them in pools. So she paid 16. We offered a workout, but the owner said, screw you, I'm filing bankruptcy. Again, what did I say? Bankruptcy doesn't protect you. So he thinks he's protecting himself. So he files Chapter 13, which is reorganization, which is fine. We'll do a workout. That's all we wanted to do with him in the first place. But people don't understand it. So he fires his attorney because he doesn't have money to pay him. We're the nicest guys in the world. We're not the bank. We're going to do a good workout. He had a modification on the first. He doesn't do it. So he fires 13, and then he fires his attorney, and on the 30th day, he didn't do his paperwork. If you're familiar with how it works, you got to do a certain amount of paperwork. He didn't do it. So on the 30th day, they dismissed the bankruptcy. On the 31st day, we foreclosed because we'd already started the process. All we did was postpone it. So on the 31st day, it goes to sale. And some investor came in and bought the note. We sold it at auction at $102,000. Okay? And the investor, my investor, paid $86,000, and the day she bought it to the time we foreclosed was approximately almost 12 months to the day. It was really ironic, a profit of $86,000. Now that's a grand slam. I was sorry I sold that one, but you can't predict it.
And if you're not proactive on the foreclosing, it gets foreclosed and you get wiped out. That's why you foreclose and make sure you protect the
Well,
second.
sometimes you can ride the coattails of the first, because if there's enough equity, it doesn't matter. If somebody buys it, now if they buy it just for what the first is, if it goes for overbid, then we get the difference. The thing is what we do is we call it the IPP. It's called the Investor Protection Package. We do a sequence of events on every note to make sure that we're in first position by foreclosing before the first does.
Gotcha.
I'll give you an idea right now. This is really cool. This is really, really cool. I own a note. I actually sold a note up in Mill Valley, California. Anybody know where that is?
Yep.
Silicon Valley, high-end, thank you. So we think the house the whole time is worth $900 or more, right? This has been going on for 2 years. I sell the note, $250,000 second to an investor for $56,000. We paid 27, 28 cents on the dollar. Second position. The first is not paying. It goes from $500,000 to $700,000. It currently owes right now $755,000 on the first. And with a $56,000 investment in the second, we're at about $810,000. $50,000 in repairs, that's $860,000. The house is now worth $1.1 million. All right? Investor comes to me and says, Tony, I hit a financial wall. I need to sell that note. I'll take $85,000 for it, if you can get it. I buy it from them for $85,000. The seller has been in filed bankruptcy, we filed foreclosure, we did everything. The first is postponed, the first isn't doing anything, the first is Wells Fargo. We know how they operate, I know how the banks work because I have a lot of knowledge. And so what do? We actually buy it in a short sale, right? Now the first is $755 unpaid. They call us the other day and they say, we want $755. I said, we know that's the unpaid balance. Well, that's stupid. You don't ask for the unpaid balance, but we negotiate short sales every day, right? I've negotiated over 300 short sales. I know the game. So my staff panics. No, it's not gonna work now, we can't get it at 755, there's no profit, da, 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 da. Relax, go back, tell them what you're gonna do. Within 3 hours, the bank went down to 655. 3 hours, they dropped $100,000. Then they said, our bottom line is 604. Now at 604, our offer was at $600,000. Now get this, they're gonna pay commissions out of that 604, and they're gonna pay $25,000 to the second. So I didn't really buy the second for, well, I did because it's my money, but to the investor for $85,000, 25, so I only have to give them 60. Pretty good, right? If I buy it for 6, I give them 60, that's 660, and I fix it for 50, which we already got a bid on, at 710, and the house is worth 1.1 million. Think we might make some money on that deal?
I think so.
Mill Valley, the market's just gone crazy. The comp we have just sold for 1.275. I don't know how I'm gonna get that, but it's a huge lot, and if I just get $1 million, I'll be happy, okay? So, these are the kind of deals. Now, we just put in a bunch of bids for properties, for notes, so we may not have the cash liquid at the time to buy this. But I found some lender that says, I'll do the deal all day long. It's gonna cost us about $35,000 for the loan, but that's okay. If I sell it in 3 months, I'll still make about $150,000 to $200,000 profit. Maybe more, but I'm trying to limit my numbers. So OPM, right, use other people's money on this deal. Is it worth it for me on this deal? Absolutely, because I don't have to think about it. And I won't tie up $600,000 of my own money, because now we can use that to buy more notes. Keep it going, just keep the system going.
Hey, Tony?
Yes?
How often do you use private lenders to do some of this?
Not as much as in the past, we're doing it more and more.
Okay.
Our whole REO department is set up to use other people's money whenever we can on these deals.
Okay.
So that Warren Drive, we're getting money out of that one. It's worth 85, we may borrow 40. Think about it, if I borrow 40 against it, that's 50% loan to value. Maybe it's less than that, 40% loan to value. But now I'm using that money, I can finish another property. I can do other things. So we pay it and then we borrow against it, whatever makes dollar sense. So we get them operating short-term and long-term, because hard money loans they're usually 1 to 2 years, depending on the loan. So you want to be careful how you do it. But we're also looking at, we analyze we actually have a strategy for every property that we have to determine our exit strategies. And that's the fun part. Do we sell or finance it? Do we buy and hold it for 2 or 3 years? Is it a moneymaker? Whatever. In this pool, this is really cool. You're always looking for the gems, right? We didn't even see this one. We've got one that we bought in New Jersey. Anybody from New Jersey? In Newark, New Jersey, right? And it's I guess like a row, they call it a row house, and it's a townhome. $150,000 this thing is worth. I paid $13,000 for it. I just got it in the pool. I didn't polish the diamond until we got it in and started working out the numbers, and we only owe $1,700 on taxes.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. So we're starting that one right away. That one just got started this week. Again, we don't know what we're going to do with it. And see, my staff, they always come to me, they go, let's sell it, let's do this, let's do this. And I have to be the voice of reason, because I'm the only one with the experience to be able to say, look, at 5 years from now, look at what you're going to make on it. 3 years from now, look what you're going to make on it.
And these the people you have are staff full-time, they're not contract workers, right?
No, I do have my own staff.
Yeah.
The whole goal, which having employees is tough.
It is.
All right? It really is tough, guys. I understand it. But if you're going to be, it's like people grow up when they have kids.
Right.
They say if you want to really grow up and be an adult, have children. But if you really want to be a business, you got to have employees.
Got to.
As soon as you have an employee, you become so responsible. I mean, your life changes because you become responsible and you've got commitment. And a businessman who has a staff is truly committed to his business. You really see that difference. I did not want to outsource anything that I did when I first started, and I'm glad I didn't, because everybody wanted to do my short sales. I was negotiating over 100 short sales at one given time, and people would call me up, let me do your short sales, let me do your short sales. I had my own negotiators, and I kept it in-house, and I'm glad I did, because it led to what I'm doing today. Had I outsourced it, I would have never known what I was capable of doing, but that was just me. Yes, it was a headache, it was a lot of training and stuff like that, but But again, that's just an example of something that I suggest. I'm not saying that's the way you gotta go, but if you get a virtual assistant, whatever you do, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get employees. We do have virtual assistants too, by the way. I have two of them in the Philippines. I pay them $7 and $9 an hour, you know, and they're working when I'm sleeping, and that's pretty cool.
That's good for Philip, yeah, that's good money.
It's good for them and good for us, and I can't get anybody to do that job here.
Mhm.
You know, I hate to say that, but I can't get anybody to do it here.
Yeah,
And you know, when you have an employee in your office, it costs you a lot of money.
yeah,
I mean, the EDD today, you can't fart without somebody getting in trouble. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But you know, and I hate to say this in a bad way, but Americans, especially young people, they feel entitled. I mean, there's no digging a ditch. They don't clean toilets. They don't even clean their coffee cup. But they expect to be president, you know, have the key to the presidential bathroom. I just don't get it. It's just totally different. And I know I'm not that old. And even my younger people that are in their late 20s and 30s say the same thing about younger people. I don't know what it is. Is it this microwave mentality that we live in or something? I don't get it. But man, to get hard work out of the younger people today sometimes, it's just amazing to me, especially in California. Other parts of the country, it seems a little different, but oh my gosh, it's just
I
different.
mean, why would you want to leave your coffee to your children? I mean, our children, what would they do with it?
But somebody asked me that one time at an event, that was funny you say that. This guy, Iwanawan notes, I buy apartment buildings and I want to leave it to my children. And I fell off my chair. I said, as soon as you die, there's going to be a for sale sign on that property.
Yeah, right.
Because your parent, when you see your parents go through, that sucker, he didn't pay his rent, and look what he did to the unit, and I got to go over there and paint it, and I got to get that. Do you think kids look at that and say, that's something I want to do? No, they just see dollar signs on that building. That building's worth $1 million.
The kids can live free in your apartment already.
Oh, man, that thing's going to have a for sale sign before they throw the dirt on your coffee, right? Because that's the reality of it. What you want to do for your children is leave them money, leave them a legacy, or leave them a trust. But they won't know how to manage properties. You know, I keep saying, it's like, if somebody gave me a jet plane and parked it in my parking lot tomorrow, I'd be all excited, but I don't know how to drive a jet plane. See, I'm not prepared for it. So having something of that magnitude and that great isn't going to do me any good. That's why God is funny. He doesn't give you everything you need right when you need it, right? Or if you believe in God or whoever it is, you know, Yogi Bear, I don't know. But he never give me what I need until I really need it, and I'm prepared for it. But this guy that I listen to, Dr. Clapper, he does a radio show on sports on Saturday, and he says this all the time, and I finally got it. I must have heard this saying 100 times, and I finally got it last week, and he goes, the eye doesn't see what the mind doesn't know, right? And I thought, man, that doesn't make sense. The eye doesn't see what the brain doesn't know. And now I realize, oh my God, that was such an eye-opener for me, because I talk to my staff at times, I talk to people, and they don't see what I see because they don't know it. And I was exactly that way. And I just thought that was an incredible line. So I realize that now, that, because I'll tell my staff, you got to believe, you got to wait. I got one of my negotiators, he wants to close every file. As soon as he hits a roadblock, let's close the file. I said, you know what? You would not have a job today if I closed the file the first time I had one like that. This whole division was created out of nothing. Our resolution division. There's probably only 5 companies that I know of all over the country that do resolution in the way that we do it. I said, you wouldn't have a job. And who knows, the next file might be our next career, might be our next division. You never know. But see, that's what I've learned now, is to see things that I haven't known before. And so that's just, and that comes from just retraining and rethinking constantly and everything else. We do commercial too, which is really exciting. They're a different animal, but this one here was a retail center at the worst possible time. They had $6.7 million in notes. We ended up negotiating down to $1.7 million. And this goes back to my line, why not me? Because I said, I don't know how to do this. The first time I called the bank, they said, talk to our attorney. And I went, oh no, I got to talk to an attorney. And the attorney, you know what I found out? You know what attorneys are good for? They want to get it done. They're hired to get it done. They have no emotional aspect to the deal. They just say, let's get her done. And so now when we get an attorney, we love it. Oh man, attorneys, bankruptcy, foreclosure, they're all music to our ears on our side of the fence. So anyway, I negotiated that deal. At the time, it was worth 2.4 million. We sold it for like 2, and so we made a nice little profit. That was like 6 years ago. So I just try to make everything a win-win-win situation. It's all about making sure all the dots connect. The way I told you, know the players. You know, we try to make it fair for the borrower, the homeowner, for the investor, for us, for the bank. Everybody wins. And what I'm really proud of is saving families their homes and help growing the economy. And I do it without taking advantage of people. I really don't. We don't take advantage of people unless they screw up. And we were trying to tell them. The problem with it is they see us as an adversarial role, and we're not on their side. So that's the only negative to it, is that sometimes they see us as the bad guy. And we're giving them sound advice, but again, we're on the other side, we're the bad guys, so they're not always going to listen to us. So we find the notes, we do the collecting, we handle the servicing, we facilitate the closing, we minimize your time and expense, and we keep this a hand-free investment. I'm not here to make you guys all start a competing business with me, but there's enough out there if you wanted to. So what I'm doing is I'm offering you an opportunity to invest in notes, and we do everything for you from A to Z. So we do it because the more investors we have, I built this company basically, like I told you, brick by brick, and that's one person at a time. And so we've done it with small investors. We've taken this large investment opportunity and broke it down to the small investors, sort of bringing Wall Street to Main Street. And what we do is I wanted to make it hands-free. So all the things I told you about, having to get involved in all that kind of stuff, you can if you want to. I actually have programs, I teach this, I do all that. But I only do that because I want to show you that I'm really engaged with what I do. But basically it comes down to this. It can be a very hands-free investment. That's what I was looking for. Yes, there are a lot of elements to it. It's a very complicated thing. We have to do a lot of things to be compliant. But your journey, and this has been a fabulous journey for me. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you, but the journey was one step at a time. And sometimes when I look back, and if I would have had to start this over, I would go, oh my God, I would never do this again. Because we have 40 collection letters alone. We have like 25 internal letters that we do just to keep the files organized. It's amazing what we've done. We have over 130 different forms that we do for collecting and servicing. And we built them all to be compliant. And they all started one at a time, just one at a time. But when I look at that journey, I go, oh my God. And I'll share this story with you. I had an opportunity to trek through the Himalayas back in 2000. And I actually climbed to 18,500 feet. I was up there for 18 days. Has anybody been to the Himalayas before? So I got to see the base, or the Mount Everest, which is just spectacular. And I had met one of my clients before that, who was a woman actually, who her and her son were buying a house. And she was from England, and she said, I have been to the Himalayas, Tony. When I graduated from college, I went with a girlfriend. I was just mesmerized. Back in the 50s, some lady went to the Himalayas with a girlfriend, and I didn't know they did that. And she goes, I'm going to tell you something. When you go there and you're up there, you're going to see the world. Now those are just words, right? They're just words. They didn't. So about the 8th day into the journey, we got up to about 16,000 feet, and we're trekking up in the Himalayas. And we stopped, and I looked over, and I could actually see the curvature of the earth. We were so high, you could actually see rows of mountains like this, and it started to go like that. And the lady's voice came up in my head, and she goes, you can see the world from up here. And I didn't believe her until I saw it myself. And I was like, this is unbelievable. So all the words she told me in the car, looking at properties, did not resonate until I actually saw it for myself. And it was unbelievable. It's a moment that I've always captured. And that wasn't even the best moment up there. But it's amazing what is up there. So I tell you this because there is a great opportunity. There's a world of opportunity in the notes. It's just unbelievable. So I told you about the Bank of Martinez. Somebody said don't do that because that's BOM, and that doesn't sound very good. So maybe one day there'll be Asset Ventures Bank, like PNC Bank. So I think that would be cool. I don't say it's going to happen, but by taking action, now I'm not here to sell you anything. Now, if you buy, that's great, because we have plenty of notes to sell. We have great opportunities. We have 11 notes right now in California, which you shouldn't even buy, because it's hard to get all California. But we had a pool of about 37. We sold everything off. We have 11 California. And one of my sources called me yesterday and wants to sell me another 18, all California, which we really like. And they're all current on the first. But we have stuff all over the country, which I really try to get you to think of, because that's where the opportunity is. I own in Florida, Texas, Mississippi, North Carolina, Illinois, Colorado, Oregon, and we just got one in Hawaii. We own a really cool one in Hawaii that we bought, and it's $1 million condo in Maui, and the first is 600. The property's worth $1.1 million, and our second is like $280,000. And when we bought it, we only had $30,000 equity, and the property's gone up $100,000. So now that $100,000 goes to us. It doesn't go to the borrower. That's our equity.
So the advantage here, people invest with you, they're not gonna have to deal with tenants, they're not gonna have to deal with anything, they're just gonna get a good return on their money, and you
Right.
guys are handling it all,
We
which,
do it all.
what more could you ask for?
We do it all. Our fee is 20% for 1 year. That's all. And it's stupid on my part, but the goal is to buy more notes at better pricing, keep it down, because the more I can pool together. Now, here's the thing. We pool the funds so we can buy more, but we are not pooled, P-O-O-L, in your notes. So we don't all own the same pool together. You would own your notes, you would own your notes. You get to pick and choose every time we do it, or you pick notes we already have existing.
So that makes it easy on the SEC stuff?
Yeah.
Because you're not pooling funds.
It doesn't exist for us there because it's
Good.
your collateral. And what we do, the way it works is if we settle it, let's say you buy it for 10 and we settle it for 20, you make a $10,000 profit, we keep 2,000.
Okay.
20% one time, you're done. If it modifies and you get a payment, let's say of $200 a month, we keep $40 a month for 12 payments. Okay, that's it. For 12 months, the rest of the note is yours. If after that you want to re-engage us in the contract, either sell it or you've got a collection issue, call us up, we'll get back involved for another year. If not, that's fine. But there is a secondary market for this, guys. That's what's cool. Once it's reperforming and seasoned, you can sell it off. So you don't have to go to the homeowner and say, hey, you've done a good job, let's settle the note. No, I don't have any money to do that. I can sell it to a third-party investor. Okay? Now, how much you get and how quickly you get it varies, but there's what I call granny investors. They're happy with 2, 3, 5%, as long as it's seasoned and reperforming, and they've got some equity in the property. They're as happy as can be. Okay? But you get to come on with us at the very beginning, when it's kind of like a broken down car. And then we fix it and get it operating again. We call it repositioning. So that's what we do. And there's just been success and success and success. Like I said, there's fewer players. It's really surprising that people don't get in. This particular investor invested $48,000 on 3 notes, and they were all reperforming. You can see he made almost $10,000 a year. And this was back in 2 years ago. His return was 26.9%. Okay, so he was getting these monthly payments on it, $250, $500, and $198. Not bad return on your money, right? So in 4 years, he's completely paid off. And look at the, does it show? That's the investment amount. It doesn't show the equity, the amount of the note. But the notes, we didn't leave that, that was internal for us, but I think his notes totaled over $170,000. So that's the max he could really get if it goes full term. All right, so I think I showed you guys this before, but I like this because everybody always says, well, what's next? Don't worry about what's next, worry about what's right now, right? Get what's available to you now. Remember when we didn't have wheels on luggage? Things are changing all the time, right? This is when I used to travel. You had to actually carry your luggage. And there wasn't wheels or extending handles or anything like that. And then all of a sudden they came up, everybody's confused, what's next? And then one day I saw this, and I saw this in a magazine, and I thought, oh my God, there you go. Now, see, they got an extension so she don't have to carry it by hand, and she's on her cell phone so you can be more annoying. Right? But what's not changed? The luggage. The note's always going to be there. The way we process it, maybe what we do with it is next. But I don't worry about what's next. So that's us. That's my story. Hopefully I motivated you a little bit, got you excited about investing.
Yes.
Whatever you do, whenever I did it, it was always fun for me. Guys, I rehab houses. I bought probates. I own apartment buildings. I was a builder. You name it, I've done it. I've done almost everything in real estate. Okay, I've made money and I've lost money. So when I share with this, it's not, oh, well, he's perfect. He's done all this. He's done all that. No, I've lost money in real estate. Use my experience as your education. I'm learning all the time. But think of it this way. Has anybody, who's your favorite baseball team? You like sports?
No.
Who likes sports? Dodgers. You like Dodgers. Have the Dodgers ever gone 162 and 0? No. No team has ever gone 162 and 0. That's life, people. If you go 162 losses, 100 wins, that's a successful season. You're going to lose. You're going to have failures. You're going to not be 100% successful all the time. So get used to it. Go in knowing that there's going to be a percentage of loss. Shoe stores do it. Apple farmers do it. Banks do it. Banks know they're going to have a certain percentage loss. When they write those loans, they know a certain percentage is going to go bad. That was unfathomable to me when I first started doing this. A bank expects to lose money? What are you talking about? That's impossible. The government's on them. You know what? As I've gotten older and more wise and more read, there's very little regulation. You ever buy a probate? Anybody ever buy a probate in court? It's like going to a poker game. There's no rules, and it's like I'm not even in court. I went in one time and three other guys are in there, and the judge goes, "Hey, Tony, how you doing? What are you going to pay for it?" It's yours. Very informal. Everybody thinks, oh, it's a court-approved probate. It's going to go through all this, blah, 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 blah. There's a referee assigned to it. There's all of this kind of stuff. And I get them every time because I knew how to circumvent the system. So it's just amazing if you know what you're doing, that the rules, the way they say it. And so banks lose money. And I thought they can't lose money because of the government, So, any other questions? So thank you. And that's who we are. And
Thank you very much. Well, we don't have anybody here at Fest Park kicking us out. We've got a lot of time here to talk to Tony over here. We've got time. Are you heading out the door?
Pretty quick, yeah.
So if you want to talk to Doug, you better grab before he leaves. And we're heading out the door. We'll be back next month. This is what, May, June? So we'll figure it all out. You guys will know. Thank you very much for being here. And get back with me if you want to get on some of the team stuff that we're doing. Okay. Thank you.